Congratulations, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you.
Big time stuff there. We saw all the emotions at the end of this match. What was going through your mind?
So much. I think at the end of the match, my legs just kind of buckled. They weren't working anymore. And yeah, it was an overwhelming wave of emotions, I guess. Yeah.
Great tennis, but I want to ask you too about playing on that court.
Yeah.
What did you notice? What did you take away from center court?
It was a very different experience for me from last year.
The headlines say Alex Eala broke another crowd record against Iga Swiatek, but they barely scratched the surface of what really happened. Behind those packed stands was a remarkable chain of events that almost nobody saw coming. Why were so many fans so desperate to be there for this match? And what unexpected moments turned what looked like an ordinary fixture into something people are going to be talking about for years?
Since the Miami tournament, Eala has one of the best, if not the best, second serve returns on the WTA Tour. And she can hit any type of return from both sides. So if you as a righty serve to the Eala backhand on the deuce side, she can go Jimmy Connors style down the line or cross court. She can do the same on the ad side. She can go inside out, and her favorite return on the backhand side is the inside in. And similarly on the forehand side, her favorite return is the one on the deuce side, where the player serves slice towards the tee or towards the middle of the box.
History has a funny way of sneaking up on you. More often than not, it slips onto the world's biggest stage without making a sound, while everyone's attention is pointed somewhere else entirely. That is precisely what happened the moment Alex Eala walked out onto the grass at Wimbledon to take on defending champion Iga Swiatek.
You know, about me not handling the pressure well, and I was firing, shots. Today I wanted to be more calm and, play some balls in, but, I was mishitting, half of these returns, and I lost many points, I feel like. Maybe if I watch, I'm going to see something else. But for me, today was more about the tennis. And if I'm also happy how I came back in the...
On paper, this looked like another routine test for one of tennis's biggest stars. In reality, it became the match that everyone suddenly had to see. Seats filled up faster than anyone expected. The energy inside the stadium felt entirely different, and Filipino flags seemed to be popping up from every corner of the stands.
I didn't think I'd be making this many videos about women's tennis at Wimbledon, but once I researched Alex Eala's story, I couldn't resist this one. If you don't already know the name of Alex Eala, get ready, because she is the first Filipino tennis player to make it through to the third round of a Grand Slam's singles tournament at Wimbledon. But that isn't the best thing about her story. In August last year, Eala wore a t-shirt designed by Manila-based designer Georgina Camus, which featured the national flower of the Philippines, the sampaguita. And for her Wimbledon look, she chose to honor her heritage but also send a message of strength, with this Filipino phrase embroidered into the back of...
Before the first serve had even been hit, something unusual was already happening. It was almost as if thousands of fans could sense they were about to witness the start of another unforgettable chapter in one of the fastest rising stories in tennis.
Last year, before the match, I was really emotional because I was like, wow, the impact of this court. And I think before the match today, I think I was able to put myself in a mindset where it's still important. It's still a big match for me, but at the same time, it's like every other match, So I think I had a good balance. Yeah.
Talk more about the impact of the court. What does that mean to you?
I think it's just because this court has been the one that I've seen so many times, and you're at the baseline before serving, and you can imagine all the scenes of everybody winning their Wimbledon.
That is what makes sports so fascinating. Statistics tell one story, rankings tell another, but sometimes the atmosphere tells you everything you need to know. You could feel it long before the umpire called play. Every television camera kept cutting back to the crowd. Every conversation around the ground seemed to include the same name. Alex Eala was no longer simply an exciting young prospect. She had become one of the biggest attractions at Wimbledon, and the excitement surrounding her was impossible to ignore. What makes that even more remarkable is how quickly everything changed. Just a short time ago, she was known mainly by dedicated tennis followers who had watched her dominate the junior circuit and steadily climbed the professional rankings. Today, casual sports fans across the globe recognize her name, and millions of Filipinos proudly wake up at impossible hours simply to watch her compete. That kind of transformation does not happen by accident. It happens when preparation finally meets opportunity and when talent refuses to stay hidden any longer. Of course, none of this began at Wimbledon. Every overnight success usually takes years to build. Behind every headline sits thousands of hours of practice, countless defeats that nobody remembers, and sacrifices that never make it onto television broadcasts. Long before packed stadiums cheered her name, Alex Eala was simply another young player chasing a dream that many considered almost impossible.
Over Swiatek again. She obviously beat her in Miami a couple of 12 months ago, and now she's beaten her as the defending champion in the first win on a center court at Wimbledon. She's in the fourth round of a Grand Slam for the first time. Let's see what happened. All right, so 2 hours and 14 minutes. So the first set was super long. Both of them have set points. It never really felt like Eala was in trouble. Even if she had lost that first set, Eala was in control. It was really, really interesting to see how Swiatek was just battling the entire time. You can see there that the serving was pretty consistent. Both of them were serving well-ish, but obviously the 5-double false for Swiatek really, really hurt her in the end.
Growing up in the Philippines, she quickly established herself as one of the country's brightest tennis prospects. Her natural timing, remarkable court awareness, and calm temperament separated her from many players her age. Coaches immediately noticed that she possessed something difficult to teach. She never looked overwhelmed by big moments. Instead, pressure seemed to sharpen her concentration. As her career progressed, she continued making decisions that reflected both ambition and maturity. Every practice session becomes a lesson in excellence because everyone around you shares the same dream of reaching the highest level. Training there exposed Eala to world-class coaching, elite competition, and an environment built around discipline rather than shortcuts. Improvement was expected every single day. There was no room for excuses, only solutions. Those experiences quietly shaped the player the tennis world now sees on its biggest stages. One week a player celebrates the biggest victory of their career. The next week they are sitting on a plane wondering what went wrong after an early exit. Rankings rise and fall constantly. Confidence can disappear almost overnight if it is not built. The mental pressure becomes relentless. Every opponent is capable of punishing even the smallest lapse in concentration. Alex Eala refused to let those challenges define her. Instead of becoming discouraged by setbacks, she treated every difficult match as another lesson. Every defeat revealed another area that needed improvement. Every victory reinforced the idea that her hard work was gradually closing the gap between potential and reality. Then came the breakthrough that truly changed how the tennis world viewed her when she defeated Iga Swiatek in Miami. It was not merely another upset result that briefly dominated headlines before disappearing. Perhaps the most impressive aspect of that victory was how composed she remained throughout the match. Many young players produce flashes of brilliance before nerves eventually take over. Eala remained disciplined from beginning to end. Every point carried purpose. Every adjustment reflected confidence. And every successful rally strengthened the belief that this was no fluke. Suddenly, analysts who had previously described her as an exciting prospect started discussing her as a genuine threat to elite opponents.
Before Roland Garros, what specific areas of Eala's clay court game do you see still needs the most improvement?
I think there's some improvement to be made, in particular with Alex's movement, specifically a little more development with the sliding technique, that being sliding into shots from corner to corner. In particular, when I watched Alex play, on a few occasions her movement out of the corners was a little stuttered due to slightly ineffective sliding, leaving her a little bit exposed when trying to retrieve her opponent's next shot.
That single victory did not instantly transform her into a Grand Slam champion, but it changed something equally important. It changed expectations. Once you defeat one of the biggest names in tennis, nobody underestimates you quite the same way again. That confidence cannot be purchased, borrowed, or manufactured. It has to be earned. Eala earned hers. As her performances became increasingly consistent, another unexpected phenomenon began unfolding around her. The crowds kept getting bigger. At first, it was easy to explain. Filipino fans naturally wanted to support one of their country's brightest sporting stars. Then something changed. Neutral spectators also started showing up in larger numbers. People naturally gravitate toward compelling stories, and Eala's journey possessed every ingredient of one. She represented a nation still waiting for its first Grand Slam singles champion. She carried herself with humility despite growing attention. Most importantly, she played an entertaining brand of tennis that rewarded spectators willing to invest their time.
Eala got through in this one, and it was really tough to watch Swiatek because she was hitting a lot of errors. She just wasn't playing like herself, but that's what Eala does. Eala frustrates players, and she makes them play worse than they're used to playing. She's just such a scrapper, and she gets everything back, and really is just such an awkward player to play, especially when she's confident. And we know Eala is confident on grass. She's played so well on this surface. She's not just beaten Swiatek, she's obviously beaten Svitolina and Rybakina, who are great grass court players. So really interested to see what happens next, because of course, Svitolina and Rybakina are out of the tournament in that bottom half of the draw. Paolini comes up next. She's beaten Paolini before over in Dubai and Doha at the start of the year in February. She took her out.
Her style differs from many modern power hitters because she combines aggression with intelligence. She does not simply attempt to overwhelm opponents through raw pace. Instead, she constantly searches for angles, changes direction earlier than expected, and takes the ball remarkably early, robbing opponents of valuable reaction time. Watching her construct points often feels like watching someone solve a puzzle several moves ahead. That quality becomes especially valuable against elite competitors because predictable tennis rarely defeats champions. Every great player eventually becomes accustomed to facing enormous power. What they dislike is uncertainty. Eala creates uncertainty. She keeps opponents guessing whether she will drive deep through the baseline, change direction cross-court, or suddenly move forward and finish the point at the net. There is something magical about the All England club that separates it from every other tournament on the calendar. Perhaps it is the history woven into every blade of grass. Perhaps it is the strict traditions that have survived for generations. Or perhaps it is simply the knowledge that every champion who has ever lifted the trophy earned their place in tennis history forever.
Side in into the backhand corner of the righty. She can hit that return with her eyes closed and makes it a lot, and also rips it quite fast. She hits her return like I teach it. She abbreviates her preparation and then has a full finish where she gains similar control of the ball like she would on a regular ground stroke. She also has a spectacular forehand return from the ad side as well. She can go cross court, she can go down the line.
For Alex Eala, arriving at Wimbledon represented far more than just another tournament. It represented another opportunity to show that her rise was no longer built on isolated moments. It was becoming a pattern, and that pattern would soon collide with one of the biggest names the sport has ever produced. Yet that was precisely what made this contest so captivating. Alex Eala was not walking into the match hoping to survive. She was stepping onto the court believing she had every reason to compete. That confidence did not come from wishful thinking. It came from experience. Eala already knew what it felt like to defeat Iga Swiatek on the professional tour after her breakthrough victory in Miami, where she played with extraordinary discipline and composure against one of the game's biggest stars. That result proved something important not only to the tennis world, but also to Eala herself. She had already crossed the mental barrier that prevents many young players from believing they can beat the very best. Swiatek had built her career on making adjustments after difficult losses, and history had repeatedly shown that champions rarely allow the same mistake to happen twice without searching for answers. Her ability to study previous encounters, refine her tactics, and return stronger had become one of the defining characteristics of her success. That reality meant Eala could not simply rely on what had worked before. She would have to evolve once again because elite tennis is built on constant adaptation.
After being a breakdown in a first set, because I feel like in Paris I would just lose it straight. So, I was there to fight. It wasn't enough. For sure, I could play a little bit better, but she also played great and she used her chances and she went for it, In the tiebreak, I remember when it was tight, I slowed down a bit, but she was brave enough to, play a bit faster and you need to be brave on Wimbledon.
That is another fascinating aspect of this rivalry. It is not simply about power versus power or experience versus youth. It is about two exceptionally intelligent players searching for solutions in real time. Every service game becomes a chess match disguised as a tennis match, with each player attempting to disguise intentions, while exposing the smallest weakness in the other. One adjustment can completely change the momentum, and one successful pattern can suddenly become useless if the opponent identifies it quickly enough. For Eala, the key has often been her willingness to take time away from opponents. Instead of allowing long, comfortable rallies to develop, she frequently steps inside the baseline and redirects the ball before her rival has fully recovered their court position. That aggressive positioning demands outstanding timing because arriving even a fraction of a second late usually results in an unforced error. However, when executed correctly, it transforms defense into attack almost instantly and forces even the fastest players into uncomfortable positions. Tennis has always been as much a mental battle as a physical one, and few stages amplify pressure quite like Wimbledon. Every player dreams of performing well on those famous grass courts, but dreams quickly collide with reality when thousands of spectators fall silent before each serve.
All the time. She's a really nice person already. She's a really good player. It's really nice to see her improving. She keeps going all the time. She's a fighter on the court. What is nice for me, she's so young, maybe she will play with my daughter one day. So it's really nice for me to see also the improvement. And I mean, she's a super good example for my daughter too, because she's really a fighter. She's positive. She goes out there.
Remarkably, Eala has continued showing signs that the bigger the stage becomes, the more composed she appears. Rather than becoming overwhelmed by the occasion, she seems to embrace it. Her body language remains steady. Her decision-making rarely becomes rushed. And she consistently projects the quiet confidence of someone who believes she belongs among the world's elite. Those qualities have earned admiration far beyond the Philippines, because tennis fans appreciate competitors who refuse to be intimidated regardless of the circumstances. Another remarkable element of Eala's rise has been the extraordinary support she receives from Filipino fans around the world. Every tournament now feels as though it includes an unofficial home crowd wherever she plays. Supporters proudly wave Philippine flags, celebrate every remarkable rally with infectious enthusiasm, and transform ordinary matches into unforgettable occasions. For decades, tennis has searched for new stars capable of inspiring the next generation of players across different parts of the world. Regardless of the outcome, the match represented another milestone in Alex Eala's remarkable journey, one that confirmed she had already earned something incredibly valuable. She was no longer being discussed as a promising player who might someday compete with the world's best. She had already arrived.